Okay, hello friends. Welcome back to my channel. But today I'm just going to do a review on Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, a book that was very much highly anticipated, and I finished it. And I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm also going to make dinner. So you're in for a delicious video. With the cooking thing going on, I'm going to take you through what I'm going to make. I'm basically going to make a hot chili oil noodle dish, and I'm going to be using these organic noodle with black rice. It doesn't matter if it's organic, but it's just my favorite type of noodles. Okay, get it from the Asian market, very cheap, and you get a good deal. And then I basically just have garlic, ginger, cucumber, some cilantro. This is a pickled radish that I use for jjajangmyeon, but I like it in this dish as well, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I have a few other things like soy sauce and oil, and I'm going to take you through this entire thing while I'm talking about this fucking book. First thing, I'm going to fill this pot with water and boil to bring it to a boil, and I'm gonna cook my noodles. Meanwhile, actually this is too much water. Meanwhile, I am going to prepare my little garlic and ginger. A few things that you would need to know is that this book is extremely white. Sometimes I'm okay with it if they do it in moderation. So we have Cleo and Frank. Cleo is about 25 years old, and she is an art student, or she finished her MFA at NYU or some shit, and now she's an artist, and she's barely making enough money to live in New York City. She's beautiful blonde girl with a charming British accent because she's British, and now upon graduation from her MFA degree, her student visa is is expiring, so she needs to either find a job that sponsor her and let her stay in the US on an HB1 visa or something like that, or she gets married and get naturalized and get a green card and become a US citizen. That sounds very familiar for someone like me who is an international student. So I was intrigued. So she met Frank at a party or a bar, can't remember, and they had this weird little talk where Frank finds her very charming, she's beautiful, she's thin, she's blonde, she's very white. He's also white, by the way. He is a marketing executive, he has his own firm and stuff, and so he makes a lot of money, and he works hard for it because apparently he is quite self-made. I don't trust that word, especially with white people, but I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyways, they find each other very charming. They fell in this whirlwind love, and they get married 6 months later. So the interesting thing about this novel is that we have multiple POVs from different peripheral characters, not just the two main characters. So the joke goes is that Frank, who is, as I forgot to mention, he is a sugar daddy. Basically, he is around his 40s. I'm gonna lower the heat, the water is boiling. So the joke goes is that she marries him for the student visa, and no, not the student visa, for the green card, not for love, but they actually love each other. Very annoying. Because I remember there was this conversation where they first met, and he asked her about what you're gonna do if you can't get a sponsorship after your visa expired. And she said, maybe, I don't know, I'll just go somewhere else, but not England, not London, because that's not home. Because he doesn't have supportive parents. She was saying, if I can't stay in the US, I'll go to Maldives, that city where white people go to vacation. It's very casual. So I was okay, this is very white, because as a fellow international student, I cannot fucking believe that you can be so chill about your visa running expiring, and you might not be able to stay in this country, and you're just I'll just go to another country with or another place with high living costs, and I don't have a stable job, I don't have a job offer, I don't have anything lined up for me, but I can figure it out there. Like, that is a very, very privileged thing, to even able to have that kind of mentality. So I was annoyed. I was like, okay, what the fuck? In the white people world. But anyways, I got married. All of the people in their friend groups, most of them are very white, most of them are very rich, like ridiculous. So there's this character who is Cleo's best friend, and they I believe they're like in the closet. During the book, they were exploring their transsexuality, or they were treated very terribly, because like they were like very sassy and very like stereotypical and very annoying, and we don't get much into their kind of exploration of transsexuality or their own sexuality, whatever, you know, they're going through. We just get them more as like a diversity point, and you know, like a toxic friend, which is annoying. Anyways, Cleo and Frank, they got together, they get married, they completely wrecked each other's life, like horrible. Okay, they're horrible for each other, and I think that's mostly due to Cleo. I find her very, very annoying, insufferable, if you will. And the thing is, so she eventually quit her job as like a textile place, and he supports her, you know, just to do painting, like you know, every artist's dream. And she does nothing. She just like lie there and being depressed, and he became an alcoholic, which makes their relationship worse. But like, honestly, if I have Cleo as my wife, I'll be alcoholic too. Like, I'll be drinking buckets. By the way, I'm adding broccoli into the noodles because, you know, vegetables. Anyways, this cheating trope was kicking in. So as their relationship was getting worse, Frank kind of emotionally cheat on this new employee that he has. She is an editor, and Eleanor, her name is Eleanor. She is the best character in the entire book, in my opinion. So, he emotionally cheats, which is horrible. And we have Miss Cleo, that actually cheats. She really shows him how it's done. Before I continue, I'm going to mix the sauce for this thing. Is soy sauce, some black pepper, black vinegar, dark soy sauce that makes the color better and it tastes slightly sweet. Now I'm going to drink the freaking noodle. The problem is she cheats with Frank's best friend. So there's this guy, very rich, very white, very handsome, a little bit older than Frank, and Cleo has slept with him once when she like first met Frank, and they were just like dating and not like exclusive. So she cheated with that guy. It's ridiculous. Oh, and you know what? She cheated with him. He bought one of her paintings as like a gallery, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat about a tablespoon of olive oil. Usually this would work with like a neutral oil, but I only have olive oil and it works for me too, so I don't care. I'm going to heat it up until it's smoking. Meanwhile, I'm going to add on top of my noodles some chili flakes. Actually, the rest of the gochugaru. Umami mushroom seasoning from Aldi. Flake chili. I don't know how much. That seems like enough. A sprinkle of 5-spice powder. While the oil is heating, I'm going to also add in garlic and ginger that I already kind of rubbed on top. Add it in the hot oil and hope for the best. Okay, now I need to turn this off immediately or it will burn my garlic. And I will pour this oil on top of my chili flakes. It seems like it's not enough oil, but I don't care anymore. I'm very hungry. I'm going to mix it up. And then maybe I'll add some sesame oil. Just a little bit. That's enough. Okay. And then I'm gonna top it off with cucumber. Like a shit ton of cucumber because I needed to use that up. Then I'll do a cracked black pepper. And some of this scallion, fried scallion. And that's dinner. There's no protein, but don't blame me. Okay, friends, it's a different day, and I already finished the dinner I cooked. But let's continue talking about this book because I am, as you can tell, I'm not happy with it. The thing is that, you know, if the cheating is serving something, I can tolerate it. If it's bringing out an argument that is compelling, I'm okay with that. I personally wouldn't cheat, or actually I shouldn't say that, who knows, you know. Cleo cheated with Frank's bestie, and the bestie just kind of like brushed it off and moved to California, where Cleo and Frank still stay in New York. Frank had no idea at that point. Cleo was very miserable because what she wanted was that she wanted to leave Frank, and she wanted the bestie, I forgot his name, like Andrew or something that starts with an A, but she wants the bestie to kind of like come out and tell Frank that, oh, they cheated, or, you know, if she left Frank, that bestie would take her and be her romantic partner or whatever, but he did not, and she had to live with this turmoil, like emotional turmoil, is that she's not satisfied with Frank, because, you know, he's an alcoholic, he's like a masochist almost, and the person that she cheated with while Frank was actually abroad during the time they were cheating, that guy just left her, so she felt abandoned, she felt like guilty, and she felt miserable. She ignites like fights with Frank. She stopped working, like stopped painting. She's an artist. She quit her job a long time ago to like pursue art full time, and Frank supports her financially, and he was actually quite sensitive about it. Like, he didn't want to make it difficult for her, so he just kept providing her, even though it annoys him to see her not working. But she was depressed because, you know, she was cheating, and all of that cheating turmoil was creeping up on her, and she wanted to kind of free herself from the misery that she accumulated herself. So this is a trigger warning and a spoiler. She harmed herself. She attempted suicide, and Frank was actually the person that found out and rushed her to the hospital, and it's a traumatizing event for him. He was really delicate about it, actually, and it was difficult for him. And then she got out of the hospital, and they decided that they can't come back to the house or the apartment that they lived previously, because it reminds them of what happened there. So they decided to kind of go on a trip to like a cabin just outside of New York, and they were quiet and awkward the entire time. They lost the kind of, you know, intimacy that they had initially as a couple. So now they're just like quiet, and Cleo is not having a good time, and when they were at the cabin they had a fight. So to me it's a very crazy fight. Like, I actually if you couldn't tell already, I feel very sorry for Frank because he has to deal with this fucking bitch. There's one part of the fight that I thought, like, honestly, it's really stupid. So they had a pet, like a sugar gliders as a pet, and that pet died, okay? And it was Frank's fault that she died, the pet. So they were fighting, and she brought up the pet. So Cleo shook her head with a pained expression on her face. "I wasn't trying to die," she said. It was a moment of weakness. Frank looked up at her from his hands. "Eating an entire tub of Haagen-Dazs is a moment of weakness, Cleo. What you did was violence. Only to hurt myself, no one else." "Only?" Frank spluttered You think what you did didn't affect anyone else? Didn't affect me? No, she paused to think. I just don't want that one act to become the totality of who I am. It's no more definitive to me as a person than what you did to Jesus is to you. So Jesus is the name of their pet. Frank looked up at her in disbelief. That was an animal, not to mention an accident. This is you. She mattered just as much as me. Do you hear yourself? That's insane. Her life is just as valuable as... No, I'm sorry, it does not. Some lives are worth more than others. That's just a fact. Your life is worth 1,000 sugar gliders' lives. Christ, it's worth 1,000 people's lives to me. I know that's not ethical, but it's how I feel. It's how the human heart works. Your life is more precious than any other life to me, even more than my own. Is that meant to be romantic? It's not meant to be anything. It's just true. That was painful to read. Cleo, this fucking white woman, just stop it. And then they kind of just split, and that's the breakup, and eventually, as you would imagine, there would be a divorce. Okay, so that's the end of the story. Now the problem with this book is that it's marketed as tender, devastating, and funny. First of all, the humor is trash. It's not funny. It's like white people humor, where it's like not funny at all. It's not devastating because the suffer of these people, who are mostly white people, like these are the suffers that only white people can have, and these are the kind of suffer that come from an extreme place of privilege. And not to say that, rich people can't be sad, but like, are you fucking for real? Like, you're miserable because you cheated on your husband's best friend and you can't make art because you're fucked up. Like, stop it. Cleo character is really annoying. I would assume that is the self-insert of the author because like every single chapter you get the same description of Cleo as some kind of like blonde golden goddess that everyone loves and she's so special and everything, where she has a personality of her entire personality is built upon white feminism. There's a scene where the best friend bought her one of her paintings and he paid like $12,000 for it, and she called and she said that, oh, thank you so much, the money is for like a bird rescue in New York. And I'm like, women, are you fucking insane? Like, birds deserve lives, but like, what the fuck? Okay, like, how rich are you? Like, you're being supported by your husband. All of the suffering of these characters, a lot of them are surface level. There are characters with actual personality and suffers that are poignant and tender, but the ones that have the most attention and the name of this fucking book, Cleo and Frank, especially Cleo, I can't relate to this. And to think that the marketing budget for this book is huge, you see it everywhere. To think that this is the kind of book that people love. This is what attracts people, like suffering of not just anyone, but like white privileged people, because these privilege allows them to have an image that are desirable, but their suffering brings an element of sadness into the story, and sadness sell in literature. Of course, because the author is white, they have blind spots, but to write something that is so just blatantly, like so aggressively laced with white privilege and marketing it as, I don't know, like a story that bringing something to the discussion, something very modern. Like, this is not modern, authors like you, authors that have the privilege to write something like this and to have the marketing budget like this book has. It's just not, unfortunately, I hope that this is not modern and this needs to change. I don't know. I don't like it and I am mad. I would still read another book from her actually, because I enjoy the writing. Like, she can definitely write. There are many quotes that are compelling to read. There are characters that I like some of the character development, but the main ones are I just can't. I'm sorry, I am mad. This is like a 3-star to me because the writing is manageable. Like the writing I can tolerate. It's just the plot and the character development is so offensive to me. Yeah, so this is the kind of book that can only be sold because the author is white. And I'm actually very interested in the demographic of people who rate this book highly and speak positively about this. Like, what does it say? If you're like a person of color and someone that is aware of these constructs that allows these people to struggle the way they do, would you still rate this book high? Like, I'm actually really curious. Is it just me? Because I was talking to my friend and we thought that we were insane because so many people love this book, and the rating for this book is like around 4-star on Goodreads. So for literary books, that's very high. Like, you never see something that high on Goodreads ever, except for like A Little Life. So I don't know. What does that say about the readers? And what does that say about us and the publishing industry? I am mad. Would not recommend. But if you already had it, I don't think it's a bad read. It's just very infuriating.